Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 12th Annual Marauder Ball. I do have a couple of things. I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on a couple of people real quickly. Mrs. Winters, the mom, thank you so much for attending. Mr. Clark, thank you so much for attending. I will share with you that parents and grandparents and key influencers are the ones that raise us all, and no matter how old or how young you are a piece of your parents. So I applaud you for both of your kids, because they're freaking crazy good. As anybody that knows that anytime I get in front of a microphone, you're kind of taking your chances on what comes out of my mouth. So I apologize in advance. Please direct all complaints to my wife, mthomas889@aol.com. She did, but just to allay some fears, she did go over the 8 or 10 words that I'm not allowed to use, and motions that I'm not allowed to. I'm an active duty soldier. It's how we are. But she did give me the speech. The general clearly understands that, because I suspect Mrs. Reno did something similar on the way in. It's what we do. We're officers. She'd also told me some very specific jokes that I'm not allowed to use, so Mr. Grout is off the hook for the evening. I think that might violate that particular guidance, but I think I've got a little wiggle room. Before one last piece of cleanup, kind of a big deal in the MP Corps Regiment that nobody knows yet. Mr. Houston will figure it out. We have it's kind of a civilianized award that you're only allowed to wear at civilian or military events like this, but it's not a part of your uniform. For officers, it's called the Order of the Marchase. You can tell I don't have one. The spouse version is the Order of the Vivandier. Just recently, Brigadier General Mark Inch, the Commandant of the Military Police Corps Regiment, inducted Kelly into the order. And that's the medal you see around her neck. And I'm very proud of that, even though I'm a little jealous. I'd kind of like to be in the Order of the Marchase. But apparently she's better than I am, which most of you already knew. I'll be honest with you, I even wrote the notes out specifically so that I could read them this time, because I know I kind of went off script the last 2 years. I don't even know why I did that, because now that I'm standing here, I really couldn't give a rip about what's on the pages, because I kind of changed what I wanted to say. So kind of bear with me. It may make sense, may not make a great deal of sense. But at the end of it, since the seniors have already turned me off, yeah, see, Mr. Winfield's like, what are you talking about? And I have about 3 minutes effective range on the juniors, and the sophomores are good for another minute or so after that. I have to tell you what my theme is right up front. And anybody that's had a conversation with me more than 15 minutes knows this is how I view the Army. The Army, like life, is a team event dedicated on individual and collective effort. The Army, like life, is a team event predicated on individual and collective effort. I'm not going to do the work for you. I'm going to help you build a team, but you better be a part of that team, or you will fail in both the Army and life. And I'm going to kind of go through that from the micro to the macro level for a second, if I may. And I'm about to embarrass somebody, and I already apologize, Ms. Graham. I know how you are. You don't like attention yourself, but it's too late. I actually forgot to bring it in. I'm going to give Mrs. Graham a bully stick here in a little while. Those of you know what a bully stick is. It's kind of a big deal. To me, not to anybody else. When I look at the idea of, and yes, I'm going somewhere with this, Mr. Grout. He's a little confused right now. He's giving me the confused look. You look at the last 2 years from where this cadet battalion came, Mrs. Graham has done a lot. She's been through a lot. Individual effort. Those of you that don't know, she just survived a pretty amazing period of struggle through a pretty harsh medical event. Individual tasks, perseverance, faith. She maintained herself during that period. Collective events, while we didn't do it really well, we organized that fundraiser for her. The end state was pretty cool, but collective event, life's a team event. So I'm going to give her a bully stick because she bullied cancer. And I truly believe that. She bullied cancer. And I can't tell you how awed I am at how you endured that. And Mr. Graham, holy crap, you were, oh wait, that's one of the words. You were amazing support structure for Mrs. Graham, so thank you on that. Now let me bring that up just a touch. I'm going to bring this from the micro to the macro for just a second. Mr. Winfield, if you get confused with words, ask Ms. Stoltz, but she'll hook you up with the words. She didn't say that he was off limits. Oh, one thing. Could you do that never thing for me one time? I so miss never. Every cadet. PT. Please. It's very distinctive. Relax. Never. It's a very distinct. Come on, everybody that's been to PT knows that never, and I miss that never. It was like the first noise I heard the first day of PT. Relax. Never. Who is that? Right? Come on. At some point, she'll do that for you. It's intoxicating because you can't slow down at PT when you're never. She's an animal. At the next level, what I look at is I look at, remember, life's a team event. The Army's a team event. When I look at our universities, I think our universities for the Marauder Battalion has made a wonderful marriage. Central State Marauders, the Cedarville Yellow Jackets, we kind of come together. I think it's a wonderful marriage between students. But when you look at the cultures of those two universities, very distinctly different. You have Madam Dean. If you've ever had a conversation with her or heard her speak, it's very similar to the conversations I have overheard or been involved with Dr. Kane. They come from slightly different perspectives, slightly different personalities, but it's the same message. They care about soldiers, as you were, students. I care about soldiers. I also care about students. They care about students. Team event. So I applaud how that plays out. I look at parents. I talked about them. When we look at some of the alumni, Mr. Taylor, holy cow. If you invite Mr. Taylor to come to something, he comes to something. He's always supportive. If you need something or a contact in Cleveland, Mr. Taylor's there. Team event. Everybody comes back. Where am I going with this? Colonel Lee, holy cow. Colonel Lee is like in charge of Detroit, I think. If you need anything or need to know where the bodies are buried in Detroit, Colonel Lee knows where they are. I mean that in a Christian way. Team event. Master Sergeant Newsom, never seen him in a bad mood. Really does well at Trotwood. Team event. Okay, actually, the real message of why I wanted to go team event, if anybody ever has an opportunity while you're wandering around Cedarville, Central State, Wright State, I don't care where you are, you have an opportunity to talk to Colonel Hughes or the General, I ask you to take that opportunity. And why is that? In 1991, I was taught to bleed green. I was a soldier. We didn't play nice with airmen. We didn't care much about airmen. We didn't care for much about airmen. Don't even get me started on the Marine Corps. 2001 came around and we started to change our personalities. We really started to understand the whole joint force idea, who we are as an organization, a military, looking at much more at a macro level. It's a team event. The Army's not just a team event. Life's not just a team event. The whole military is a freaking team event. You cannot operate effectively without Colonel Hughes, without General Reno. No matter how much we'd like to think that. The only time we played with the Air Force back then is when we were imposing our will upon them in sports. Now, we don't do anything without thinking about them, without considering them. I would be a very average Air Force officer. My personality's not there. I'd be a poor Navy officer. It's not my personality. I'd be an okay Marine. I'm a good Army officer. We're culturally different. That's okay. That makes us unique. I would offer the reason I think Cedarville and Central State works so freaking well as an organization, a Marauder Battalion, we both have our cultures, our personalities. We have figured one another out, and it works. So what am I trying to tell the cadets? General, sir, you already get this. You get it clearly better than I. Cadets, when you go out into the formations, you need to play nice with the sister services. Learn from them. Listen to them. Just because the Air Force is a little more love thy neighbor than we're used to doesn't make them bad people. Just takes them a little longer to get to the answer. Sometimes When sometimes the Air Force general's going to, hey, I'd kind of like to recommend that you do this. He's not recommending anything. He's telling you what he wants you to do. Just takes him a little longer because he's nicer. The Army general officer, he's already told you, and he's probably kicked you in the throat for not having done it fast enough. Nothing wrong with that. You need to understand and truly inculcate the idea of the Joint Force as a second lieutenant. Anytime you have an opportunity to interact with families, you need to integrate them as a part of that team. Alumni, come back and be a part of the alumni. In whatever capacity you can, be a part of that team. Does that all make sense? Now everybody knows my effective range, or my, yeah, I didn't really use my notes, and I don't apologize. My expiration date is about, what, 4 months out, sweetheart? Everybody knows I am functionally irrelevant to most of you cadets, except for the seniors. I'll run you to death. I'm functionally irrelevant. But what I do want to say is I am completely awed and honored that the Army, Central State, and Cedarville universities have allowed me the opportunity to work with phenomenal young men and women. They've allowed me to get to know young people like Paul Winfield. I admire that guy. People like Ulysses Simmons. The guy's a beast. That's good, right? See, I use that in context. It works. Jamisha Hale, wherever she is. She's going to be a dynamic young lady somewhere. And yes, just to show that I have some level of heart and compassion, I admire Travis Manning. That young man's going to be awesome. No, and the reason I say that, to be honest, Mr. or Lieutenant, I wasn't on your Christmas card list 2 years ago, was I? I wasn't even close. You kind of understand a little bit more of what I was, the effect I was trying to get in you, don't you? There's a reason we do these things. It's not because we're mean-spirited. We're trying to get an effect out of you, help you grow, mature as a young person. No different than Madam Dean. No different than the general. There are lots of people that don't like Madam Dean. It's probably their fault, not hers. But over time, they will figure that out. So I feel awed and honored that the American Army has allowed me to be in this job for this period of time. I've enjoyed 94% of the days. I'm not going to lie. Some of them have not been good. Colonel Hughes, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your wife coming. Again, cadets, if you ever have an opportunity to pick his brain on the Joint Force concept, the guy understands it. Just make sure you got a couple of minutes. No, I'm just Sir, and the last thing I'm going to say before I sit down and give this back to young Mr. LaCaris. No, I think Mr. Winfield's next. I hope everybody recognizes what you get in a 3-star general. I don't care what service you're in, but when you start doing the reductions of, we have a whole bunch of lieutenants, you fire some, you promote some, some get out and do other things, you promote some. The Marines, you guys fire people. Captains, you start whittling down. When you start talking about general officer, that's the elite of the elite. And you start talking major generals above brigadiers and lieutenants above majors. You really have somebody that's figured out what it takes to succeed in life, to succeed in his service, and to succeed in incorporating others. So please pay attention to what the general has for you. And the last thing, actually this is the last thing. I know I've said the last thing like 3 times now. I told you, give me a microphone, you can't trust me. Please thank Mrs. Reno, because for the love of God, that's a long time, ma'am. I can't tell you how much I admire your ability to endure. So thank you for your service to our nation. And have fun in a Christian kind of way tonight, will you please? I don't want to have any phone calls. Thank you.